Oof, that was a lot of good-looking gamers that have hopefully got you excited for the good games that are coming up. It's currently 100% win rate for all the Brazilian teams here on the B bracket Brazilian stream. They're looking pretty lethal, and we get to see a showing from another fan favourite. Furia will be up on stage next versus SSG. So let's bring back in the two beautiful boys that will be with me for this one, Tim and Des, to start dissecting this exciting game.
Well, gonna be a good one.
Are you doing that?
I'm just seeing more Latam. I'm looking forward to seeing Furia. You know, I enjoy watching Furia. Not gonna be an easy one for them though.
No.
Oh, nah.
No, it certainly won't be. But they are definitely a team, Tim, that, you know, they used to turn us up in the middle of the night and get us screaming when we thought that, you know, they were going to drop out or they would struggle. They always were full of surprises. And I think, obviously, it is quite surprising to see them here now in Mexico again as well. It's another one of the Brazilian teams on land, so always comes with a different bit of spice, Tim.
It does. I mean, for Furia, it's just another step as well, isn't it? You know, we saw them get to the point of almost being relegated from the BR6. They went through open qualifiers to make it to the Invitational. It wasn't something that they got through league play, but now through league play, they've got to the Copa Elite 6, they've got the top 4 spot, and they've qualified for the Mexican Major. So each time, it's like they're going one step further. And this time, you know, who knows how far they can go here at the tournament. They surprised a lot of people at the Invitational. I came in talking about Furia. I said they were going to grab the neutral fans, they were going to excite people, they were going to interest people would get behind them, and that's exactly what happened, and I expect it to continue here. I really do.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember waking up to DMs from Tim when you were both at SI, Des, just saying they're doing it, the boys are making everyone proud, we knew they would, and I was like, go on lads, it's exciting stuff. I know we're always going on about LATAM, Des, but I'm going to need you two this time around, because look at these names up on screen. A very exciting squad, but who should we be keeping our eyes peeled for, Des?
I think Fantasy's the one that all eyes turn to immediately as you start talking about Furia, to be honest. But it's not like you can really count out any member on this team. It sounds like a very generic thing to say, but it is very true, I think you'll tend to find. Furia, Tim always told to me, the kind of the fan favourites, the one you look at, and you don't necessarily expect them to be the ones that go on and win anything. And they're not the big name in the region. They're not an NIP. They're not a team looking, but you need to stay excited about them. Is there enough in them to go on and beat a team like SSG? On paper, you turn around and probably say no, but that's why you have to get behind the underdog here and assume that miracles can happen, that upsets can happen, because it absolutely can.
Oh, man. Already, Tim, as well. Look at the man in the back line. Look at him pacing. Twister. Boy, the amount of times we spoke to him. He always had so much to say as well. That was one of the really interesting things that I think we learned about LATAM, right? Is the amount of work that comes from the back line from these coaches. But, of course, in the front line, you've got to look at these players. One of them, as we've said, Fantasy, that is hopefully going to be getting out there and really showing what Furia are made of, Tim.
Well, hopefully what he's made of as well. He's had some big moments in his career so far, and there's plenty more stretching out ahead of him, I'm absolutely sure. It's just that, you know, hoping that he can turn up and deliver on the biggest of stages. That's what you need from your talisman players. But he's not alone as well. He's got Miracle alongside him, who's been having a great stage 2, who will chip in as well. But Fantasy is one of those players that can just make things happen. We've seen it a few times so far today. We'll be seeing it again before we're done, and he is one of the players to watch out for here today.
Will it be easy come, easy go? We'll find out for Fantasy once we get into this one. A big name that hopefully will be making some huge plays. On the flip side, though, their opposition, of course, will be SSG. Spacestation Gaming not exactly coming out, you know, the way they would want to, Des. Let's see if they can do some damage here.
I think when you come up against Na'Vi as well, a team that is playing as well as Na'Vi were, as well as close as that game was, you're not going to feel too hard done by if you're SSG, I think. I mean, again, coming into this, victors of SI last year, an incredibly dominant stage 2 in the NAL. They are one of the favourites to go on and win the whole competition here, but that does mean being consistent and being able to beat teams like Furia. Really good game earlier on, as I mentioned, but now you need to carry it on against another team, end the day at a 2-0, and I guarantee you Coach Lycan will be very happy.
Someone I want to see happy again, though, of course, is going to be Rampy. He was a big bit of star factor for them in their first series against Na'Vi. It felt like when he was going off the rails, that's when they just had so much more to work with, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there was the core three, as I said, wasn't there? There was Hot and Cold, Rampy and Bosco, particularly, who were just absolutely dominating that game, particularly in the later stages against Na'Vi. If that core can continue here in that same fashion, and there's nothing to suggest that they won't do because they've been doing it all through the second stage of NAL, then yeah, Furia are going to have a very difficult day. But one thing to know about Furia is that they are scrappy. They're not scared to go in there and get difficult results. You know, they don't expect to go in and just win things easily. So these guys are going to have their work cut out for them. Make no mistake about that. This is not going to be a cakewalk for them. But a second win here puts SSG, and I don't know the maths, I haven't done it yet, but it puts them a long way towards guaranteeing, if not actually guaranteeing qualification, because there's only 3 teams in this group. So there's only, limited points up for grabs for everybody. If they beat both of the other teams once, it pretty much means they're going through.
Hopefully someone that will step up as well for SSG this time around will be Fultz, the man that's on screen now. We've got some highlights from him because he should be one of the high flyers. Could that be an extra edge as well, Des, to potentially make it a little bit cleaner for SSG this time around?
Yeah, Fultz was the high flyer for them back at SI 2020. Actually, I recall him alongside Rampy putting in hard yards and getting a ton of kills as well. Big MVP for the team. I feel probably lately it's not been so much all about him anymore. It's not so much all about Rampy. A lot of focus has been Hot and Cold, who joined the squad, and the sort of numbers that he was putting up as well. So it's gone from being this kind of two-man team where a lot of your attention went towards Fultz and Rampy in the front line. Not at all saying that players like Bosco, who we saw pop off earlier on, can't play well, but all the attention was on Fultz and on Rampy in the early to mid round. Whereas now I feel you've got Hot and Cold in there as well. He's got more support around him, but we all know what a fragger Fultz can be on the right day.
We'll see if he'll be looking faulty or if he will be able to live up to his name when we get in game. Because we're mere moments away. We can start to speculate where this is going to be going and have a bit of a look at the veto, boys. Tim, I'm going to div it to you again, mate. I know you're always good. You've got a crystal ball on your head. You've always been effective at predicting these vetoes. Could you give me the map? Do you reckon you could do it?
Can I give you the actual map? I think this could be Chalet. I don't know why. Something in my head is saying I think this could be Chalet. You don't take SSG to Clubhouse generally. I think, Consulate goes. I'd expect to see Coastline gone as well. I'd say Oregon or Chalet, but I'm leaning to Chalet.
Oh my. There's a little bit of doubt in the mind of the AOP.
The AOP or the OAP, if he gets this one wrong, his memory slipping away from him. Time will tell. But no, Consulate and Oregon, the 2 taken away. Chalet is a really popular map for SSG. I believe it was their top one in the stage, but equally for Furia. They played it 6 times, barely banned it, won it every single time they went to it. Ooh. I was kind of hoping we'd see them go there, but no, that gets taken away. Please pick Cafe, boys. Please don't do this to me now. Let's not make it a Coastline game. Oh it's a Coastline game.
This could get wild.
Ooh, this really could. Oh, God. Tim, I remember all throughout the first season of LATAM when Coastline was just getting banned left, right and centre. We were sat there like, we never get to see it. Suddenly the second season rolled around. It was all they were playing. There was probably the most outrageous games of Coastline I've ever seen in my entire life. Furia on Coastline. Oh, this could be off the Scoville. This could be ridiculous, Tim.
It could be red hot, that much is for sure. I'm a little bit worried for Furia, if I'm honest. I won't go too deep into that because I know you're going to ask us in a minute, Jackie, who we think is going to win. But I can see the thought process here. SSG are just... where do you play SSG? To be fair, okay, let's go and find a weak map for SSG. You're going to struggle, because they're such a solid team at the minute. So do you take them somewhere a little bit more simplified, a little bit more gunfight heavy like Coastline, go in and see if you can just beat them? I suppose, maybe, but look at who you're going up against. Do you want to beat Hot and Cold and Rampy in gunfights? I know I don't.
No, this is this is going to be a tasty little affair, but we do love to be beside the seaside. I'm glad we've got Coastline locked in. You're right, Tim. I am going to start to pick your grey gears a little bit and see what you two think of this matchup. Obviously, Des, we know SSG. They've beaten Na'Vi. Great start to the day. It's got to take some pressure off you. Do you think they can do it now against Furia, or are they going to go 1-1?
I think they can, but Coastline is that map that removes any kind of sensibility or things that you thought you knew about a team being good. That's why I hate the map in the first place. They played it once against Makers at SI 2021. They lost it there against Makers. You haven't got a whole ton to go off with you, to be honest with you. I always feel like it's a massive risk when a team is structured as SSG goes to a map like Coast that's quite devolved. It's very kind of kill heavy. Furia are used to that kind of environment from all of their experience of playing in LATAM over the last couple of years. I don't want to go as far as saying Furia can do it, but I kind of do. Let's do it. I think Furia can actually take it away from SSG on this map, but only on the map alone.
Tim, I think we're starting to rub off on him. It's like the LATAM buzz is catching on.
This is what happens. You see, he's just trying to convince himself that, no, it's because it's Coastline. That's why I'm saying it. And it's not, Des. It's because you love Furia. You love Furia like everybody else.
Don't put these magical words in my head. They're cruel and incorrect. It's because it's Coastline.
How can you look at Twister and not just go, that looks like a winning team? They're the human embodiment of just aggression and ferocity when they get onto the server. But that's enough about how much I love Furia. Tim, who do you think's going to win it?
I think it's a tougher call than it looks on paper because, as I say, Furia are a very scrappy team. Des is exactly right with his comment about the maps. I think this plays into their wheelhouse and, you know, what they can deliver, the surprises that they can deliver. Given what we saw from SSG previously, I think SSG are going to win. I think Bosco, Rampe and Hot and Cold were just too good as a core of the roster. I think Furia's opportunities are maybe going to come elsewhere. I'm not sure opening day against SSG is going to be for the place for them to pick up a win.
And obviously as well, this is the fact that SSG, right, they've already taken down Na'Vi. They looked pretty good. It was a show sharp, but towards the end, they really did look shipshape. Coming in again now, your second game, little bit of pressure off you. That could go two ways. Furia, we know what they're like. At times, they really do take the pressure and turn themselves into diamonds. So if they come out swinging, there could be a fantastic opener. I think a lot of this does go down to the early rounds, to be honest, specifically with Coast. The amount of times I feel like we had spoken to Twisted Tim and he had basically told us how they just hate Coastline, but they're so effective at it. And the defense was just this mental block for such a long time in the team. A lot of question marks for me here, Des, honestly. This map just looks like it's going to be chaos.
It's often how you feel about Coastline, isn't it? Of course, got some minor tweaks coming in the next few weeks. Going on the test server tomorrow, which will be interesting to see how they play out. It is one of those maps that I look at and just think chaos because it's quite a small map. It's quite tight. You can't really make rotations super well because everything is exposed to that courtyard in the middle. A structured team can shut down a chaotic team on this map as long as they're holding angles properly and playing off each other using drones. There aren't too many places to hide, for example. It's quite quick and rapid as a map, which is why I think Furia might be able to catch up to SSG and do some damage. For example, Furia lost this map to Liquid, but it was 8-7 to Liquid. It was a very close map. Are you telling me a team that lost 8-7 to Liquid on this map can't go up against someone like SSG and potentially beat them? That's why I'm kind of hedging my bets on Furia here being able to do well, to be honest. It's going to be chaotic. It's the way a Coastline always is. But what can I say? Hedge your bets.
That's actually one of the factors as well that I think could give Furia a little bit of an edge because they've always been so effective, Tim, when it would come to anti-stratting. The amount of groundwork that this team would put in with Twister being at the helm, right, of being able to look into everyone they're playing against, plan for all possibilities. It paid off massively domestically in LATAM. If they've done their research here, I feel like they might have the edge against SSG.
Oh, they've definitely got the setup. There's no two ways about it. They're doing things. They've got a lot of people probably won't know. They've got an academy team. They've got Twister as the coach. They've got analysts. They've got everything in place to be successful. And you're starting to see the fruits of that labor. You know, that is why Furia are here, because they're doing things in the right way. Let's not forget who Furia are here ahead of. MIBR aren't here. Bays aren't here. But Furia are. And, you know, that should tell you everything you need to know about this team. You know, do not write them off. But I honestly think that... I just think it's hilarious that this whole world and stream has turned on its head and Des is arguing for Furia. And I'm coming in saying, no, come on, calm down now. SSG, I think, are top 2 or 3 at the tournament. And I do think that they'll close it out. I think it'll be closer than anybody will expect. But I think SSG edge it. But yeah, I think that's hilarious as well. Des is becoming one of us. He doesn't want to admit it, but he will.
No. I'm not going that far yet, mate. I'm predicting one result, right? Now, if the tournament prediction was a different story, then maybe. But I'm still sitting on SSG to win the whole thing. I'm just worried about a day against a team that hasn't yet been seen on Coastline. It's one of them where you've just got to, like, you'll know this from our predictions in EUR, right? Sometimes you've got to kind of, flip a coin to see which way it goes. You've got to hedge your bets in a strange direction. This is that map for me. This is that game that I'm just a bit uncertain of.
But I think one thing that's important to note as well is SSG have had a strange little break here today. So they've played in the opening game, and then they've sat around for a couple of games. And I'm sure they haven't sat around. I'm sure that they've been, practicing. I'm sure they've been keeping themselves warm. But they've just had that break away. And you've always got to consider how a team reacts in that situation as well. It's not as simple as Liquid bouncing from one game to the next, for example. Having that little bit of a break, maybe you cool down a little bit, maybe things change. So we look at the performance against Na'Vi. It might not be the same SSG that we see turn up here.
Yeah, that's very true. It is one of those big factors, right? Because obviously, as much as there is downtime and there's not much you can do to avoid it, what do? Do you try and keep yourself warm? Do you try and reset? Take that break to get yourself topped up, bit of protein, bit of water, come back in with those slow release carbs? A lot of question marks that go into it. And I think one of the beneficial factors could be is that plays so much into the hands of a team like Furia. They've always been an unexpected side. A lot of strategy. Don't get me wrong. They're a very, very clever team. They have had these explosive executes in the past that knocked us for 6 multiple times, Tim. So with the level of strategy they have and the fact that SSG might not be too prepared for this game as, a bit of an underdog, really, they could come out swinging. I think what they got to do is hit them where it hurts, go fast, and give us some flashy plays to start off the day, Des.
Yeah, I think that might be it. I've said it all day long as well on how to get in front of these teams that are quite structured is to be disruptive. Get up in their face in the early round. Get out on the roam. Some teams like Liquid know how to deal with that, and they've done that excellently against TSM and against Empire so far today. But in other instances, when Liquid's been on the defense, for example, we have seen them out and them out. We have seen them being disruptive. Ness just winning rounds entirely by himself. The best way to control a structured team is to remove that structure early in the round. Don't give them a chance to get the drone work going, to get themselves inside the map, holding cross angles, thinking about the site. Have them think about actually getting inside the map in the first place. That's how you're going to upset people.
We will be getting inside of the map, hopefully in a little while. We're just going to be remedying a slight issue behind the scenes. Then, once we come back in from the break, we'll be kicking this one off. You don't want to go anywhere. This will really be a tasty little morsel. SSG, can they go 2-0 in their group, or will Furia be able to keep the LATAM streak going? That's the big question. Come get the facts when we're back after the break.
Welcome back, boys and girls, for the B-Stream British Bonanza, as we like to call it here, because there are normally 3 Brits holding down the fort. But I said an American phrase there, Ace, and I hate myself already. Hold the fort, not hold down the fort. We'll park it and carry on with things as they were. Jackie is, of course, no longer with us. He's off in the back room. So me and Ace are ready to bring you this game. We have now resolved the tech issues that were plaguing us, so we can get underway with, dare I say it, a game of Coastline that I assure you I am absolutely riveted to be casting, Ace.
Well, I mean, you call it the British stream, Des, but we've had 2 liquid wins. If Furia go in here, we're going to have to switch it up to the Brazilian stream.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. We could call it the British casting stream of the Brazilian dominance. We can figure it out. You know, Jackie is the wordsmith. I'll leave that to him. There's something we can work out here.
I think it's probably for the best.
It is for the best, mate. I'm already slaughtering this one. We'll stop it right there. Speaking of a slaughter, this could be one of those. It's a boom or bust kind of game, I feel, where Furia are going to come to the table and really compete with SSG, or SSG are just going to wipe the floor with Furia. I don't think it goes any other way. I can't see Furia stomping their way through SSG, for example.
Well, the thing here is, as well, because we're in a 3-team group with Na'Vi, SSG, and Furia, if SSG pick up the win here, they're all but qualified, so it starts to narrow down the field a little bit, whereas a win for Furia is actually really good for the group, because then you come into it with Na'Vi just to play a Furia, and if potentially, say, Na'Vi get a win there, you come into the second round of games knowing absolutely nothing, and it's just going to end up like the Wild West in there.
Yeah, it could well shape out to be that way. Lion, a band that I want to touch on here for a quick second, mind you, of course. Recent bust for the Lion has the Gon 6 added as his secondary gadget, or gun in this case, his secondary utility, alongside the ability that it gives to clear out those roamers. And interestingly, it was Furia bringing that through as a ban, so maybe showing a bit of fear here for Rampy on the roam. The Jaeger ban to close things out all but confirms that, I think, given the damage that Rampy was doing earlier on Cafe against Na'Vi with that same operator.
Yep, bit of targeting coming in there, I would expect. I think Furia also, when they get onto the attack, they need to take the opportunity to bring the throwables, move towards site quickly, because of course Wamai's magnets only generate over time, and it's something SSG could take advantage of here. Get towards site quickly, start getting those throwables in, and there's going to be very little defense against them available at that point.
All right, then let's have a look at what operators are being brought along here. I saw that Jackal coming out for Rampy to start things off. Bosco on the Nomad, so that flank watch going to be a key part of this game. On the other side, we're seeing the same sort of thing that Na'Vi employed in a couple of their rounds against SSG. That information denial, normally as a trio with the Vigil in tow. Here, it's just the Mozzie and the Mute. But with this map being quite small and tight, expect to see a lot of success from those 2 operators in that regard.
We're going to be heading down to Kitchen to begin with in round number 1. Furia on the defense, of course. They're going to look to hold on to top floor a little bit, I would expect. There goes the Vulcan shield on the 90 corner. We're going to have some presence inside of theatre, and the reason they're doing this is because they don't want SSG to just have full control over VIP particularly. If they can get VIP locked down, use the vertical angles, they can open up above sight and just force the defenders to move around, maybe even pick up a kill or 2. So it's really important. Let's tell you what, there's been a lot of renovation going on site as well. Service has been pretty much completely opened up through to bathroom. We've got the holes that allow a line of sight basically from luggage through to the default plant spot inside of the kitchen window, should SSG try for that, although it is a lesser used plant spot and tends to more often than not go down inside the surface, but it will largely depend what sort of control they can get as to where they might be able to make that attempt.
It's a little bit different here as well in terms of the approach from SSG, looking to come from the west and move across to the east rather than just starting on the east and looking to use that immediately as your drop. So almost extending how much time it's going to take them, because for all intents and purposes, they need to do a full map clear. They've got to worry about Hookah being clear. They've got to worry about, therefore, below that in Sunrise being clear. They want to worry about any potential roamers down inside of Aqua, then get VIP control, penthouse control, then start looking at kitchen. They've got to really do the dance across the entirety of Coastline here. I hope to God they've got the Fitbit on, because they'll be putting in some goddamn miles in this game. At this point, Rare is the one playing downstairs inside of Sunrise, looking to try and challenge from below, but has stepped away pretty quickly. Has a shotgun in hand. I wonder if at this point, though, the side of SSG are aware. I think they were, which is why he's going to back away into sight pretty much immediately.
Yeah, Bosco just holding down that angle. Hot and Cold moving in through Sunrise as well. Now looking to just play the long angle in towards Kitchen. Maybe across towards main lobby. I think SSG are aware that there's still a couple of defenders over on the far side of the map. Lender and Miracle just moving in and out of the main lobby and the bottom of the white stairs there, just to try and make it difficult for SSG to take any real control. Fancy will find one of the air jabs and take it down. That will offer the potential for a little bit of a rotation, a flank there. And right now, Furia are doing a very good job of holding onto this top floor. This could be dangerous. There's one. Does he know there's a second? Does Highs know? Shots did come in after the kill, so he should be aware and should be able to hold Fultz here. Is he going to take the challenge? He does, but he puts the nitro in his hand. Gets downed whilst doing it, but damage comes onto Fultz. He has to back away. In comes the challenge, and there is Lender on the swing. Can't get the kill, but he does turn 180. Tries to hit the shots onto Hot and Cold. Won't be able to. Dips away before that nade is going to do any damage.
I mean, this is the problem with this format play that I mentioned, right? You get greeted and challenged at even the smallest of parts, and you're going to find it stinging you. They've now got players rotating back behind them to stop them. Lender with another onto Hot and Cold as well. A double kill in the round for him before finally he does get put down. But there's 15 seconds to play. Bosco and Nade have got it all to do entirely by themselves here, looking to try and push their way into the site. Furia not yet being unseated. They've got one playing here on the chassis itself. Steps out for the challenge. Nade going to try and go for the plant. All Bosco's got to do is hold the angle. One steps out, another one goes to the left. Doesn't know about the man though. Will he be able to finish the plant off? No, he won't. Fantasy closing things out with a bit of a late round rotate. That was all, for me at least, the side of Furia just being aggressive inside of security and disrupting SSG on their way towards the site.
Well, it was interesting what they did up on the top floor as well, Des, because SSG basically gave up on taking top floor control. They moved into Hooker very quickly, droned it out and thought, you know what, we don't like this. And they moved away, dropped down, tried to move through Sun into security instead and was shut down by Highs. It was basically Furia, as you say, just having SSG's number and knowing what to expect and playing into it very nicely and not being scared to step up and take those challenges, and that's exactly what they did, taking the first round. They're going to move up now to Hooker and Billiards as a top floor site, but tell you what, that's going to be a real sort of a real round to steady the nerves for Furia, which, you know, coming in against SSG, they're a team with a big history behind them and a lot of ability, so you know, I'm sure that's going to do a world of good for Furia.
I'm not yet at the point where I want to start blaming the map, but
give it a few rounds.
Give it a few rounds, mate, and I'll be off on one. You know me. Honestly, that was, again, a good case of SSG, you know, doing what every team should do. Looking to clear the map, make sure no one's going to cause any trouble, trying to get their way into lobby. But there was no drones at the feet of those two players looking to push down into security. There was no pinch pressure coming in from lobby, at least not until later on, for example. So for Furia, it was just taking a heads-up gunfight. There was no real advantage coming in for SSG as they were pushing in through a single doorway. And it's small things like that where I think on any other map, SSG wouldn't just have, we're going to crouch walk into security and hope for the best here. No! And a spawn peek for Rare. Great spawn peek onto Rampy. Again, another Coastline special.
I tell you what, Furia getting up in the face of SSG and giving them a bloody nose in the early round like that is going to take its toll if it continues. What a play from Rare. Just pops up, sees his man and has the confidence to stick the challenge. He didn't hit the shots immediately, but he was happy to keep going until he did. And what a pick to take down Rampy. Opening death again. As you say, if they can keep him on the sidelines like this for as much of this game as possible, that is going to be a huge momentum builder for Furia.
There's a real bittersweet, ironic almost nature to killing a Jackal first as well. The one who you'd assume is going to be the one to hunt down these Romans, stop you getting spawn peeked or roamed on in the late round. No, normally the one finding himself picked off. It's happened twice in a row now. Fultz does a little bit of neutralizing work, mind you, bringing down Rare, who I assume was hanging around for a C4. Brings us into a 4 versus 4 with 1:45 still on the clock. On this map, I'd say time isn't as big a factor, given it is a little bit tighter, it is a little bit smaller. But it's all going to be down to what the setup is going to be from SSG. Currently 2 inside a kitchen, Fultz hanging around inside a Sunrise, and just collecting some information so they know what it is they need to be doing with this execute into Hookah and Billiards.
Could be a push up Cool Vibes stairs that will be being mounted. We'll see if any rotations come along that would suggest otherwise, but Certainly seems to be the case, actually. Hot and Cold and Bosco just moving outside of the map through the window and then up onto hooker deck, joined by Fultz as well on that rotation. Bosco just going to put the air jab outside. That's going to allow some play up onto the double window with the Nomad. Just try and again get some sort of advantage, cut off the rotations inside of sight. There's now a defender locked in behind bar. If he tries to move, he's likely to lose his life in doing so. Lender just making a challenge out of luggage window, and it's aggression again. There's not scared to take that challenge out of the window onto the aquabalk and just again let Space Station Gaming know that there is no free territory here, and this could be two players coming together here. Lender's just going to hold the angle for the time being. He's got Fultz just moving towards him inside of luggage, but he's just going to hunker down for the time being and see if the man exposes himself. Now, I think that's exactly what's going to happen, but Fultz turns away. Lender doesn't know that there's a man that would have been absolutely free in there, and SSG get away with one, able to start putting this diffuser down.
Plans coming in here as well. No one challenging, no one trying to stop. You are looking to that vigil to make something happen, and Lender does start moving his way forward, but nothing to be found. Bosco on the vertical rappel looking towards bar, finds nothing. Hey, there's that Nomad air jab coming in to strike. Nice one from Bosco to pick off Lender, who's trying to get a little bit cheeky. And I feel here Furia might have just let them get away with all too much. A 2 versus 4. The plant being down, a 1 versus 4. Much better from SSG. Zero response coming out of Furia.
Furia had the opportunity there. You just feel if Lender had pushed slightly more aggressively into luggage, got the kill onto Fultz, he would have been completely free then to challenge onto Aquarium, and that would have really changed things up about whether that plant could or would have gone down. But ultimately, it's all could and would have should. But ultimately, SSG, as you say, very, very solid there, able to get that diffuser down, took the opportunity perfectly, and Furia able to do very little about it realistically. So moving into round 3, we once again find ourselves with a game that has started off 1-1, and it suggests it could be a tight one, but Furia need to make sure that they don't let SSG get their head too much, because if they do, they will start running at them, and that's not the place you want to be.
Just to paint the picture of the raw dominance in that round from SSG, by the way, Rare still got that opening kill, let's not forget, onto Rampy. They had nothing to control the roamers with, nothing really to help hunt them down outside of maybe the Yana using the decoy and, of course, the drones that come out of all of the attackers themselves. Yet they still get into a point where they win with 4 members still alive and no one left standing on Furia's side. Outside of that entry kill, it was a flawless execute out of SSG. They played the attack really well, set up all their win conditions, and gave basically nothing for Furia to fight back with. Really impressive stuff. Now we get to head onto the downstairs. Sunrise and Blue Bar. Not loads of changes coming in for either side here. Really a couple of tweaks to the defending setup from Furia. But again, looking to go for a vertical hold around the bar area. Plus Lender looking to be cheeky inside of office.
Well, they had plenty of success with it back in round 1. There wasn't much that SSG wanted to or could do about that vertical hold. They chose to go horizontal instead, and it cost them in the end. So Furia, no surprise to see them trying more of the same. But I just get the feeling that after that last round Space Station, they're going to be a little bit more aggressive about things here. I think the confidence will be going up a little bit. They'll be getting comfortable inside of the map, and they'll be ready to go in and take those challenges. Now Rare, he's just going to hop out of his position inside a hooker, look to pressure towards luggage for the time being, potentially slow down any push that may be coming from there. And we've also got a man playing inside of kitchen and service as well. So SSG look like they're going to be challenged wherever they choose to go into the building.
I mean, that's really the way to play Coastline again, because it's quite a small map. You should be challenging them no matter where they want to try and get in. Often that is the best point, is to challenge people who's on the entry, because they're going in through windows, through doorways, often single ones. They're locked into animation more often than not. It is the best time to go for an early challenge, and it wastes a good bit of time. You might find yourself killing a couple of things off. Grenade comes down, almost a shot coming in onto the sledge there. Hot and Cold does take a little bit of damage, equally so does Highs. I can't imagine, I was going to say, there's no way he stands there twice and doesn't die the second time. But Fantasy strikes big, living in a dream of his own with 2 kills coming back. Good way to start shutting SSG down. 4
versus 3, Rampy taking that opening death once again and just giving the respect inside of the server there with a nice shot over to Fantasy, the man who found him. And that leaves us 4 versus 3. 1 minute 20 left to go, and Hot and Cold still left to try and locate any of these Furia players to get them shut down. A little bit of information being fed back into him maybe leads to a pre-fire into Sunrise, but he won't have any joy. Bosco also aware of the potential for a flank coming down those white stairs, so will apply the air jab, but it looked like it was in a position that could potentially be spotted out there, so something they just need to be aware of. We've already seen Furia well aware of those gadgets and just taking them out when the opportunity struck.
Here we go. Oh, getting cheeky on Paul entrance here as well, which is enough to make, at this point, the Iana Nade a little bit nervous that he might find himself getting ran out on if he's not too careful. Does, of course, still have the Iana Gemini to make use of here if they want it, but there's another one also hanging inside of blue. So Nade's got to be super careful here. He's only, you know, a second or two away from being ran out on from either direction or jumped out from either of those windows. Got to be really careful. Hot and Cold taking the challenge onto one, but not yet able to shut him down as the smoke comes ringing through. He's got himself back behind the bomb chassis. Great spot to be in there as well, and good retreat coming in from the smoke of Rare.
3 versus 3 as Bosco finds the kill onto the low hit point Fantasy, and it's all starting to go in favour of Space Station right now. In the last 10 seconds of the round, it's down to Miracle. 1 versus 1 effectively, but Hot and Cold, he finds the shot across the bar and puts the man down. Space Station Gaming taking the second round, and that was a real flurry at the end of things there.
Yeah, just again descending into one of these pushes where, you know, hit your shots and you win. You saw like 2 or 3 different gunfights taking place, and Hot and Cold was getting involved in every single one. A bit chaotic, but also part of the fun along the way. I get a feeling that we're going to see something a little bit different here, Ace. Penthouse and Theatre has been selected by Furia. Now, we don't see this site basically at all because it can be really hard to defend. What some teams who do defend it like to do is open up basically every soft wall inside of the site and play it at long range. And seeing things like the Echo, like the Dock on side, a couple of C4s coming in, I'm thinking that might be the play here from Furia.
Could well be. There are also vertical angles as well. A lot of soft surfaces on the floor, as you can see from all that wooden flooring. So there is the potential for that vertical denial of plant spots as well. Not having too much renovation at the minute, as you said. You know, we do tend to get a lot of angles opened up here when we see the defence coming in. Marooney looks like maybe starting that process. There you go. So by opening up that angle there, it just allows long-range challengers through onto the double window, onto the plant spot, onto the bathroom drop. There's all sorts that can be challenged from there now.
Alrighty, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what this dock's being used for here as well for Fantasy. Is it more the intent to be supportive, where, for example, on Consulate Yellow Stairs, you're juicing up a clash to make sure they're not being naded out? Is it more to play aggressive and looking out the windows? I know, of course, we've lost the days of the good old Grand ACOG that would so commonly be used to spawn peaks. Still quite handy with the scope on the gun regardless. Playing behind the shield in here does suggest it's more about that potential long range into VIP.
It's an interesting hold. The corridor outside of Theatre is going to be particularly important because they're holding down angles from their shields on both sides. Plenty of utility to try and keep them inside of that position. And then also the man inside of Hall of Fame as well, just looking to lock down any push from DJ Balcony. So Furia, they've got themselves set. It's now down to SSG to try and go in there and just pick them a piece part by part, get the information, clear the utility, and then try and find favourable gunfights. We can see that Furia have got men downstairs as well. As we said, Nitro's in hand.
This is interesting.
Information's going to get fed in about Bosco pushing into Akko. He's actually going to drop back out for the time being, but if there's anybody down in office, we could find those Nitros come into use.
Bolt's has kind of been this space. It's kind of a role that gets talked about a bit in SSG. This kind of space taker, you know. People were kind of nervous that with Merc not being on side for TSM that they would have lost that role on the team and wouldn't have someone to step into the map and take a lot of space. Bolt's has been doing that time and time again so far and just getting himself into really key spots to help hold things up. Fantasy with an opening kill. That's 4 rounds in a row, by the way, that Furia have found the opening kill, yet they're only at 1 round win.
They've got to start taking advantage of that situation of getting themselves ahead in the early round. Fantasy with a great long-range kill there. He's been playing out of Hall of Fame and he's just got that line of sight opened up all the way across to hook a double window, and it's served him well. But Fultz, he's going to shut down Lender, and this is what SSG have done so well. I spoke about how well Furia can scrap, how they can find results that seem to be going against them, but it's something that Space Station are showing us right now. Regardless of losing the entry kills, they're coming back and they're fighting hard. You saw the crossfire that Rare found himself in there. Rampy it is that finds himself the kill, but one way or another, he was going down. 4 versus 3, and SSG again have turned that manpower into their own advantage.
I almost feel like it's Furia finding an entry kill and then just staying spaced out and not looking to kind of consolidate what they've got. You've got a numbers advantage. You play off trades. Oh, beautiful nade from Hot and Cold from below as well into Fantasy. But again, not kind of bringing all that together, condensing your resources. You've got 5 men left alive. Play for trades. Instead, they're staying spread. And SSG is saying, you know what? 3 versus 1. We'll take that every day of the week. No problem at all. Great shot from Miracle. Finds one. Pops off the glow shield. Expecting yet another to come crawling in. It is going to be Fault. So the grenade comes singing through. That was almost the second in the round coming out for them. There's the one angle. Surely he sees the man. No, he doesn't, because he's back in the side room. Nade's going in for the plant. And Furia once again have bled members. Rampy with a good angle hold. One was watching from the bottom side towards White Stairs. Just another really good attack from SSG, where despite the numbers disadvantage, they're coordinating far better than Furia are.
Easy for SSG at the end there with thinking they're getting the diffuser down, and that's the problem with Penthouse Theatre. As soon as you get somebody inside of that double window, if you have somebody on the rappel, Rampy in this case, you've absolutely no chance of going in and challenging that. The diffuser is almost always going to be stuck, or you're going to die trying to impact on that, and that's exactly what's happened there. So I think Furia, they're taking the tactical time out here. I think it's probably good timing. They're going to be beaten up a little bit over those first few rounds. They've not really found too much success so far against this Space Station game, and it's strange they're coming out and having really strong early rounds there, but Space Station, they just lean into whatever's put in front of them and they just find the kills and work a way around it, and it's a beautiful thing to see at the minute.
Honestly, I think SSG could be in a spot where they have 3 members left alive and they'd still be able to win a 3 versus 5. Because again, it's almost like the speed on SSG's side of getting the members together and pushing a sole player. It's like drones are in around the map. Oh, there's a player here, isolated. Let's pinch onto him now. And they're doing that wonderfully well. Again, something that Coastline enables really well because there are so many windows to get in the map, access points, fast rotations. If you want to use speed, you can use speed incredibly effectively. And Furia at the minute, once they find those opening kills, they're not backing away and playing around site or slowly drawing the line back, as you see on other maps. They're trying to stay in the map and try and turn it into a bit of a 1v1 situation, which SSG are just not prepared to give to them. Think back to round 1 in security, for example. Sure, Rampy died, but there was a trade that came in with one player bursting in from lobby. They had one more coming in from office. It was a 3v1, the same as you saw against Rare in that previous round. So really well played by SSG. Furia, we need to see a change, and I'm hoping to God that tactical timeout would have given it to them.
Well, as I said, Furia do have a bit of a history of being able to scrap for results. You said yourself on Coastline previously against Team Liquid in Stage 2 all the way to 8-7. Took it the absolute distance, and I'm sure that they're going to try to do exactly the same here, but I don't know. I just had a feeling coming into this one that SSG would have taken a lot away from that Na'Vi game, and I think, to be honest, that Na'Vi maybe sort of, I don't know how best to phrase this. Space Station were very good in game 1, and I think that maybe Na'Vi made them look not quite as good as they were, because I think Na'Vi played well. So it sort of looked like Space Station, they've been challenged there, so maybe there's a bit of leeway for other teams to come in and do that. And I think actually Na'Vi took the game to them pretty well, and I think we're starting to see just how good maybe SSG are playing at the minute.
It's one of those that you look at it, I think, and for Fury, again, it's the first game we've seen them play too, whereas SSG we have already seen play. And that's something I should have considered in my prediction, because I said it in literally the last game as well, that we'd seen Liquid play against Empire. We knew that Liquid had already played. We'd seen how good they were. We saw the same from SSG. By all means, my favourite game of the day was that first one between Na'Vi and SSG. Rare taking a bit of a tag there as well. This is why you see sometimes blind sprays coming through softballs or through windows. You just don't know what's waiting on the other side.
No, absolutely not. And the thing is, we're not short of ammunition, so take your shots. You can see their faults. Knows he has the opportunity, but Rare manages to just slip away. Gets himself back upstairs to site. Needs to be careful, though, because he has taken a little bit of chip damage along the way. Now, Fury have been forced almost completely back to site. Lender is the only one, really. I think Fantasy was on his way back out with the Vigil, and you can see him actually there just moving into Theatre and Penthouse to try and support Lender. But the Furia defense at the minute is being pushed around us.
I don't mind them being pushed around. I more mind if they get themselves picked off in 1v3s and such. So I like that we're actually seeing them playing relatively together. You're seeing constant tracks coming in from faults, mind you, which is the one thing that makes me a little bit nervous, is the fact that that information is then being fed. And that's where Furia have a chance to or AR might be prone to breaking shape. So I'm trying to keep a close eye on that and making sure they are still staying in range of each other, staying in proximity. One thing I'll give to SSG, they're only down a couple of drones so far. Furia haven't done such a great job of getting rid of that information. Instead, SSG relying very heavily on things like the Jackal. There'll be the phone calls coming out of the Decay B. Lots of tools to play with. And by the way, Rampy hasn't got off a drone for the last, like, 45 seconds. Now that he's off it, great. But he was on a drone for a solid 45 seconds there. Almost saying to the others, look, you guys take the entry rolls. I'm not having a good game. Stick me on something more supportive, and it's working for them so far.
I mean, we saw how well SSG used information against Navi. There was a number of rounds where they just seemed to know exactly where all of those operators were, and they'd move in and just surgically get the kills. So it's no surprise to see that focus. Thinking nade manages to get a nade onto Miracle. Fultz, he gets one onto Lender, and this is how it all happens. Fultz gets himself inside a VIP. He knows where the next man is going to come from, and it's because of that drone in Des. Plant going down again. It's been such a focus. This is going to be a flawless round. Rare, he needs to try and find something, anything, but with the diffuser down, it's going to be tough. He manages to down a man, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He takes some damage in the process of doing so. They know that he's in Aqua. He's looking to push, looking to try and just get himself anything, but no. Rampy finishes off that flawless round with a nice pickup from the rooftop, and maybe that'll be a little of a confidence boost for Rampy here on Coastline.
This is now an issue, I think, for Fury, because that round was them playing and consolidating, like I said, they weren't doing prior. When they found themselves getting tracked out, they were playing as a group, they were giving each other support, they were moving through the map as a bunch. And that's okay on this map because you can afford to move your defense around in a bunch of places. The problem is, once it came round to the one man being found with that grenade at the top of ours, others were then trying to retreat away after being tracked again by Fultz. They come up towards Fultz, who was playing inside a VIP with no knowledge that he's there, and get absolutely slapped for it. That lack of information, I feel, is really stinging Furia. They aren't removing away things like the drones from SSG. The Jackal is giving them a massive headache. It's just the information game shining through, I feel, and Furia look a little bit lost right now.
They do. They look, I think the best way to describe it, Des, is they look punch drunk. They look like SSG have come in here and just sort of cold clocked him with just an unexpected jab, and they don't know what's going on at the minute. They need to settle things down, and I think getting this final defensive round would be a big play for them. Coming into the attack, it might just give them the little bit of focus. It might settle them down a little bit. 5-1 is going to be very difficult to come back from against anybody, but particularly against this SSG side. It's, you know, we're just seeing hot and cold is just so consistent. There's no cold about it. There's absolutely no up and down with this man at the minute. He's coming after a big stage 2 in NAL, and he is just continuing to perform here on LAN.
Man's either freezing his enemies in fear or burning them to a crisp. Take your pick with those grenades singing through in prior rounds. Well, pretty terrific in terms of what he's achieved for the team so far, and it's a player that we've seen do really well in NAL Stage 2. Many think when we heard he was joining across to SSG, it was like, okay, is he going to be able to step into Canadian shoes? So far, absolutely. And maybe it's, we don't always see the impact of what maybe Canadian have behind the scenes, but in the server at least, hot and cold is steaming his way through opponents.
Certainly is. There's no stopping him. Thinking Nade sends in the Gemini clone. Fultz is going to move in very quickly behind it. Again, looking to aggress onto these Fury Aromas, catch them out, close them down, and find the kills and the advantage that goes with it. Just looking to take the long angles there. You can see the footsteps in and around the door, but the colour will signify that they are old. Lender getting an opening kill onto Rampy. Not good for him so far here on Coastline, being absolutely battered by Furia, particularly in the early rounds. Fantasy manages to find hot and cold, but Fultz, once again, how many times are we saying that name, Des? Fultz gets in and gets the trade. He is going big alongside hot and cold so far for this SSG side on Coastline.
I mean, Jackie asked us in the pre-show, he said, Fultz talked about this guy, and I was like, you know what? He's got the support of players like Hot and Cold now, Rampy on his day as well. They all look great. And normally I say not to kind of write off Bosco or Thinking Nade, also fantastic players, but you've seen from the kind of results that Hot and Cold's putting out, how him kind of forcing players around with these nades, almost chasing them around and kicking them at the backside. Fultz is just sat there waiting and saying, all right, I've tracked someone, force them to me, I'll collect a 2k or a 3k in this round, thank you very much. It's about as simple as that. Let's see how this plays out, though, because it is a 3 versus 4 for SSG. I said I wanted to see how well they could pull things off in a 3 versus 5. This is about as close as it's going to get, so let's see how it plays out.
Certainly is. The challenge comes in from Thinking Nerd. From Luggage towards Aquarium, looking to find the man. Highs is going to take some damage there. Lender just putting out goo mines, but it's unlikely to have any joy because I imagine Thinking Nerd will have seen that one deploy and will just take it out. Fultz once again with a kill onto Highs. It's these big impact moments for Fultz when they are down, when the chips are stacked against them. It's he who gets in and gets kills. Look at that!
Mate.
Headshot onto Lender. Sit down. This is the Fultz masterclass as he finds a fourth. Surely not an ace to come in from Fultz. He is one kill away. Does he know where the last man is? Miracle just waiting around the corner to spoil the party, and will do as he finds the kill onto Fultz, but that's going to give SSG all the information that they need. They know where the last man is. He sends out the Toxic Babe canister. It will force Thinking Nerd back. 15 seconds left to go, and SSG, they need to make something happen. There's still utility available to Miracle. He uses it, has to dip away from the flashbang. In comes the challenge. He finds one and wins on time. No, in fact, the kill comes in onto Thinking Nerd as he tries to move through. Just gets him at the end.
Really, really great play coming out from Miracle there as well. A 1 versus 3 to clutch it out. Just when it looked like Fultz might be on for an ace in that round. A 4K for himself, and the team still can't get it over the finish line. Unfortunate, because I feel after how SSG have played that half, they should be coming out of it at least 5-1, if not a little bit stronger with a full 6-0. But Furia at least give themselves a couple of rounds of buffer here to try and sort things out. Let's see how they fare on the attack. SSG now the one stepping onto the defense. And a couple of interesting picks maybe coming out here. Bear especially going over to the Blitz.
Big moment for Miracle then, picking up the end of the round there. It was just what Furia needed. Think of the momentum that is going to be taken along with that big clutch moment. And as you say, it just looked for all the world like it was going to be an SSG round, especially with the 4K from Fultz. That's the second time we've seen that today, Des. Sexy Kate got a 4K, lost the round. Fultz gets a 4K, loses the round. And these are the ones that teams can't let slip away from them.
Whew, we missed the obvious pun about Miracle actually pulling off a miracle in the round, but we'll leave it now. It's in the past. For this round, at the very least, I want to be seeing the kind of gauge as to how SSG are playing it. Again, I spoke about that consolidation of members, about playing off each other. Is the plan here for Furia to collapse down on a couple of members, isolate them because the Blitz is fantastic at things like that? Or is it an out-and-out flight rush? Because they've got the smokes, of course, from the Blitz, smokes coming out from the Twitch. It could be a rush coming in because they are all starting to gather themselves around. The door smashed through. We're on the downstairs. Maybe want to isolate this guy by himself. Indeed, it is the one hanging at the bottom of Cool Vibes. Rare, I think, slightly scared off there without the knowledge of where the other members are. And I believe there is one from SSG in Kitchen.
Absolutely, Rare. Just taking a chance at a flash from his shield there. I think more to try and force the man away than anything else. I don't think he was probably feeling too prepared to be taking on that challenge, especially not having taken some damage. And if you're going to bring a Blitz along, generally your strategy is going to be reliant on that Blitz, because otherwise, why bring it? You're going to be using it for some function. So Rare not wanting to throw his life away by giving too much chase to the man that was exiting Sunrise. Now then, that would have been a freebie for Hot and Cold, but he turns away at the wrong moment. Fultz finds Miracle, but Lender with a big double, a triple from the F2 of Twitch. And Furia, they are here to play now that they've got themselves on the attack.
The F2, man, what a gun. It could be absolutely terrifying. Grenade in hand. And the size that... Oh, what a bounce. Pinball wizard, they call him. Highs. Another big kill. Thinking Nade. Last one going down. Bosco now the last man standing. Something tells me he can't quite pull off another miracle. No, he can't. Definitely cement him in there as a wizard, because that's the second kill in the round. Honestly, the bouncing of those nades, beautiful from Highs.
Making the absolute most out of his utility there, and that's what you've got to do with these operators. You've got to squeeze every drop out of them that you can. And Highs, as you say, just getting more than his fair share there with 2 nade kills. But what about that big start from Lender? Just when it seemed poised for the round to bounce back and forward at 4v4, he just comes in with a huge 3k to put it into their favour, and it was all a slippery slope from there for Spacestation Gaming. So now then, Furia, they get themselves back into things 2 rounds in a row and start to find a little bit of momentum. Spacestation need to be careful here that they don't leave the door open. It's time to slam it shut. I'm sure if you're a Any fan, you're looking at this thinking, this is an important round now. This is the difference between 4-0 or 5-3, and I can't overstate the difference between those two scorelines.
Absolutely massive. I agree with you. Let's see how it shapes out. Vertical control should be a big one coming in for Furia, given we are on the kitchen site, unless, of course, all these kills do come elsewhere around the map. You probably won't forget that when it was Furia defending on the top floor, they had the control of 90 with the shield. They had someone playing inside of theatre with a shield pointing in towards Penthouse. I'm keen to see if we get the same coming out of the side of SSG. I would imagine so, given there is Bosco playing on the Goyo. Indeed, there is going to be a pretty much identical setup coming out. Now, the question is on Furia's side, how do they deal with that? How do they respond differently compared to maybe how SSG did back in the first half?
SSG, we saw in the first round when they attacked onto kitchen, just didn't play into the top floor hold at all, and it cost them. They didn't try to take any possession whatsoever, and Furia were able to lock down that defensive round. So we'll see if Furia learn the lesson from their own success and make sure to go in and challenge and hopefully win those top floor fights. Now, Fantasy looking to get himself into office. He knows that there's a man inside of there, but Bosco, for the time being, is going to keep himself in behind the couches. That shooting of the drone will give Fantasy all the information he needs. He's moved around, but the cover is there. Rampy in Sunroom manages to get the kill, and he's got Bosco's back and shuts down Fantasy to give SSG a strong start in this pivotal round.
It's again just being constant gunfight seemingly everywhere you take a look. It's I don't know. Again, chaotic. I would always describe it here on Coastline. It's one of those you look at and just think, okay, it's going to come down to that at points, but good cover coming out from Rampy. That team play is everything. Playing for the trades, playing as a unit. Jackal track coming through. Now the question comes in, how fast can Furia respond? Because SSG were lightning quick on their attacks at responding.
They were. Every time that we saw a death, it was almost always followed up by a kill of SSG just to keep things nice and level. But Furia just sort of sitting back and allowing this one to stew a little bit, and all that's doing is burning more and more time. They still haven't got into office. They're still looking to push. It was nearly a minute ago that Fantasy died trying to do exactly that. Bosco, he's burnt another minute in there. He's just going to sit back in security, try to hold a tight angle, and then eventually dip himself away, but with no great haste and with nobody on his toes, nobody forcing him to move from Furia.
So let's say things pieced out for a couple of seconds there to see how things were setting up after that initial entry kill, but no, as I say it, hot and cold with a C4. SSG in the 5 versus 3. No Jackal, no Iana on the other side. Oh, what is this? What is this, boys? Highs with a 2K. Not even a single bullet landing onto Highs. And the fact that they swung just suggested they knew that he was there, but no one connects anything. What was that?
Highs getting away with absolute murder at that point, finding those two. Rare it's going to be to get the kill onto Fultz, but Hot and Cold does manage to get the trade. It leaves Highs now in a 1 versus 2. He's got a lot of work to do, but he's already done some of the hard yards when he found that double kill inside of Hall of Fame. The information's been fed back. They must know that he's pushing through kitchen. He was spotted out on the default cam. Now Highs needs to find himself 2 kills in 13 seconds. 1 in bathroom. He doesn't know where the challenge is going to come from. It's unlikely that he gets both. Surely he finds 1 though. 5 seconds. You just got to stay alive, and that's why we see Bosco running as fast as he can into blue bar, because he did not want to take that challenge with Highs.
Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me on the Bosco, man. I mean, that's one way to get yourself over a finish line. It's one of those rounds that you just look at it developing and you know, Highs is going to do it, isn't he? He gets a 2K into Penthouse with the weirdest and probably worst peak I think I've seen at the top level, and then gets the vertical kill as well afterwards, almost defending far or descending far enough that this could have been a 4-4 scoreline. Will this be like the first match of the day where we look back at it and say there was some incredibly close rounds that SSG just edged out ahead over Na'Vi? That could be one of those rounds that we point back at later on and say that was the round that they just edged out over Furia.
Champions know how to win ugly, I think is the saying, and Bosco showing that all you've got to do is whatever it takes to get that number up on the scoreboard. Just keeping himself out. There was absolutely no sense in taking that fight whatsoever. Highs was on an absolute flyer that round, was hitting shots absolutely everywhere. And Bosco doing the very smart thing and just getting himself into a position of safety inside a blue bar, just down prone. I've got an angle on the door. There's very little that Furia could do about it. But that round was a lot tighter than it maybe should have been. I've got to ask questions about what was going on, Des, on that penthouse to Hall of Fame door. 2 players stacking up and just running straight through there. You're asking for trouble, and they got it.
I mean, yeah. They're keeping it close. They're playing with my heart a little bit here on which way it might work out, but it is what it is. Penthouse and Theatre, both teams have now opted to step in here. All 4 sites being played so far in this game is always quite fun to see. We saw 3 of them in the first 3 rounds. In fact, the first 4 rounds we saw all 4 getting played, just to give you a full idea of just how, and not so much popular, but how viable all 4 of the sites are. And of course, if you missed the reveal at the start of today's broadcast, you should go back and watch it later on. There are a few tweets coming to Coastline that look incredibly exciting, which might just make them even more viable.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, it's probably been a little bit overdue that we've been looking for some changes to Coastline, and I think certainly the things that are being done seem to be addressing some of the issues that we have on Coastline. So hopefully we will see some improvements. But I mean, I know we differ in opinion, but it's always been a map that I actually quite enjoy. I just like the chaos of it. Now, Fantasy, he manages to get another opening kill onto Ramp here. He's having a rough game here on Coastline so far. 5 versus 4 now for Furia, and this is the moment that I talk about for Furia and how they are a scrappy team. SSG have just won a pivotal round there. Getting themselves 5-3 on the scoreline is massive, but Furia are not the sort of team to be intimidated by that, and you might just see them fighting their way back into this yet.
If I gave you a little stat in isolation that Furia are currently 6-3 on the entry, you'd be very surprised to see they're currently down 5-3 as well. Maybe that changes, of course, by the end of the round, but it does go to show, SSG still managing to bring things back even when they lose the opening man. You're not so nervous when you see Rampy going down, but what makes me slightly nervous is they did incredibly well on the attack. Here on the defense, things have not gone so well for them, so I do feel that a loss in the early round this early on is what really comes back to sting them and really comes back to bite.
A real line of sight has just been opened there in the Theatre wall. We are defending Penthouse and Theatre, so that is a big play. It allows pressure to come in from the top of White Stairs onto site. It's not now just about the double window directly into site, thinking they're just holding down that balcony door, but for the time being there's going to be no need to, as nobody is coming forward. Out goes the Nitro. Unsuccessful for Hot and Cold. He's taken a bit of damage along the way as well, and he just needs to be careful. He's looking to get aggressive and challenge onto that upside down rappel, but thinks better of it as he dips himself into the corner. Fultz once again. How many times can we say his name? Comes in and gets a headshot onto Highs. Gets himself a second onto Rare. There's a couple of kills bouncing about, but it's effectively 2 versus 1 for Furia, as we've got Thinking Nade and Fultz both down here. Hot and Cold. He's the last man. Holds the angle. Gets the kill onto Lender. That leaves us now effectively 1 versus 1. Does he see the man? Yes. Can he find the shots? No.
That's a shot and a half coming back from Hot and Cold. Holy hell. Using the bomb for a bit of assistance there. Lovely. Couple of headshots coming out from him at the end to make sure SSG get over the finish line, despite it being a 2 versus 1 for Furia. I'll say it again, Ace. That is one of those rounds you'll look back at and say, Furia could have taken that. These games are close with SSG today, but ultimately what makes a champion is those that can get those scrappy wins, and a win on Coastline is about as scrappy as it gets. 6-3 to SSG.
Furia, I'm sure, will be looking back at this game and feeling like, not necessarily straight out, we could win that, but you're going to be looking at rounds like that and thinking, we've thrown that away, because, they're in a 2 versus 1 effectively. They might not know that at the time. I know they knew one was down in front of them. I don't know about the position of the second downed man, so maybe they were unaware of that, but still, you've got to look at that and think, they're the ones we've got to get on the board. If you're going to beat SSG, you're not talking about a something and nothing team here. You're talking about former world champions. You need to take your opportunities when they're there, because you're not going to get many of them.
Bottom C 1v2. Beautiful. Right, let's see how Hookah and Billy sets up. Then this could be the final round of the matchup, unless Furia can pull out some magic here and take us through into round 11. On their lineup, nothing really worth singing home about all that much here. You're seeing again Lender playing on that Twitch as he has done all half long. Rare still sticking on that Flores, and the hard breach coming through of the Ace. Limited use case, but mainly used for things like the mirror windows where they've been brought along. There isn't one present here in this round. SSG instead going in towards things like the Wamai, the Mozzie, the Lucy, things to get them off site and keep themselves busy. But again, a good focus on Mute and Mozzie for the denial of information.
5 versus 5, 6-3 on the scoreboard. 15 seconds into the round as Furia start approaching the map, looking to get inside the attack. I just don't feel like it's had enough teeth so far for Furia. They've managed to get a couple of kills in the early to mid round, but they've never really been able to carry that weight forward and to really make that advantage pay for them. SSG always just finding a way at the minute of keeping themselves fighting, keeping themselves in it, whether it's hot and cold, hiding behind the bomb chassis, or whether it's thinking they're getting the diffuser down at the last second when they were on the attack. It just seems like SSG always have the answer.
Alrighty, there we go. This is what I love seeing about the Flores. I expect we'll see a lot of it in this tournament. Sent through and freely taking that shield. Nothing you can do. You have a very slight window to spray it before it gets anywhere near your shield. Otherwise, it is guaranteed to be dead. So nice start from Fury, at least to remove that comfort on the far side of Hookah Billiards will make it a bit more uncomfortable. Got a couple of members playing on the downstairs as well. Only one currently playing on Vars. Just trying to gauge exactly where the aggression is coming in from the side of Fury. And right now the answer from Miracle was going to be in VIP. Start calling that Fultz's VIP in at this point, given all the damage that he's done from there. But with him not being on the attack, no option to play there this time. Looks like it's going to be a south side push coming in. Hot and cold below with a C4. Let's keep a real close eye on that because that could do some untold damage.
I think that's 2 Selma charges now that have been deployed. One is now able to go off, but still won't be successful. And that is the second time. There was one played inside of VIP as well, but I believe there's a mute jammer that's stopping it working. So SSG just doing fantastically well here at limiting Furia's use of their utility, not allowing them to open up lines of sight that could be advantageous. Hot and cold shut down in Sunroom. He will not have a hope of staying alive there as he's challenged by 2 men at the same time. Lender knows that there's one above and tries to find an angle but won't be successful. Spots the head, but he was in the reload animation, so can't go for the shots.
In that spot as well, the C4 on the south side. Quite smart coming out from the Yana of Fantasy, by the way. Throws the nades and immediately gets out of dodge. Doesn't want to get C4'd. As soon as those grenades start flying, that's a great indication to Hot and Cold downstairs of what he could get away with. Rampy with a great swing, this time coming in from the 90 side with support from Thinking Nade. A 1 versus 2 coming out from SSG, nice and clean. We've seen it all game long, but rare. As Crouch walk his way inside, Notes is getting challenged out from 2 different angles. Can he find any? 2 kills fly the way of Fury and make it a 3rd. They might have just completely shut down his defense coming out of SSG. Can Rampy do enough after having such a difficult game so far? Can he be the winner for them? No, he cannot. Miracle finds the kill. Fury take round 10.
Furia keep on fighting, and all I ask, Des, is that you just keep in your mind what I said about Furia. They are capable of fighting back against the odds. They get themselves around there. It was 3 versus 3, 25 seconds left to go, and you felt like SSG could maybe do what was needed to get that one done and to put Coastline to bed, but no. Furia managed to get themselves a couple of kills. All it took was Rare to crouch walk in, and they had absolutely no idea what was going on before they were hit like a freight train by Furia as they managed to start getting the diffuser down, and Rampy unable to close that one out. So we're going to be heading down to Kitchen now for round number 11, and a win here for Furia would take us all the way to the 12th round. SSG, for me, have looked better than being pushed to a 12th round here. They have looked dominant so far, but Furia, this is where they can really come alive.
The underdog story, mate, as we spoke about. It is 3 rounds in a row that have to win on the bounce. The last one plus the next 2 to take us up to 6-6 and force the overtime. A spot that I'm sure SSG don't want to get into after what was an excellent first half. They looked more than dominant. They were really running the mill of things here. They owned the keys to Coastline. The Furia were unwelcome guests that wanted to get booed out there as fast as they could. But in the second half, Furia have fought their way back in ever so slightly. Let's see how this Kitchen hold goes up, though. The same as before, we're seeing a hold onto 90, a hold inside a penthouse. All the usual things, all the usual frills that you'll see for this kind of defense. All going to come down to Fury and how well they can break it.
So quite a widespread approach from Furia at the minute. They've got pressure going towards Penthouse. We've got Render moving up onto Hooker and up in towards the roof now. He's going to try and hold a vertical angle for the time being, see if he can catch anybody on the rotate potentially. The drones are going to rain in, and Penthouse Theatre is something that Furia need to deal with if they want this vertical pressure. Thinking they're deploying the magnet there, just trying to keep himself in position behind that deployable shield for as long as possible. Now then, we've got 2 on the rooftop, I believe, for Furia. 1 looking to drop the hatch, which will be the Sledge of Highs. We've also got the Twitch up there, but then the remaining 3 are at each corner of the map. You've got Fantasy moving in ahead of us there. Going to do some damage onto Hot and Cold, unable to find the kill. Hot and Cold escapes with his life, but they are pushing from 3 different points here. It could leave SSG a little bit pinched.
Reloading.
Highs. Oh, big 2K. This is similar to how it played out last time. Initially, a focus on the downstairs, but same position of 2K onto the 2 that were holding inside of Penthouse. A good start, and Highs might have just done enough to get them through into the next round, assuming they can close things out cleanly here.
We have seen SSG fight their way back from difficult odds so far. You said it yourself, Des. You just get the feeling, even with a 3 versus 5 at the minute, that SSG is still capable of winning. Fultz goes out and just misses his man. What an opportunity that could have been. It would have been a real steal had he been able to claim that one. He just needs to keep himself away for the time being. The nade coming in to clear out his deployable shield, but he's keen to play on the reverse vertical angle. Coming into the final minute then, and it's time for Furia to start making that man advantage pay.
It's just Highs being a terror from above. The grenade singing in, the kills that he's been finding, Fantasy finding another. SSG surely cannot let this one slide, but it sure feels like it's going to. Bosco and Fultz in a 2 versus 5, being droned out still. And Fultz is terrified about this vertical play coming in. Sees the man, surely knows that he's there. Goes to the challenge, gets sprayed back in reverse, but can't find each other. It's like trying to play the floor is lava for Highs, but manages to walk away alive. And another grenade is going to follow Fultz downstairs, removing the Goyo shield, turning the floor into genuine lava as Bosco finds one. Fantasy on the flank. Bosco in a 1 versus 4. I think we know how this one should be playing out. A long angle challenge down to about 5 HP. Fantasy puts the nail in the coffin for round 11. SSG, time to get sweaty, boys. You've got 1 more round before overtime is due.
Fury are fighting, and they are fighting tooth and nail to keep themselves in this one. They want to try and close it down, but SSG have got another opportunity. No surprise, Des, to see the SSG tactical timeout coming in.
They need it. My
I agree.
God,
I agree.
They need it. It has been messy. It has been scrappy in the second half. They just look rattled by the aggression coming out of the side of Furia. They can't play the roaming game they want to because that's being pretty well controlled. Highs has been an absolute nightmare, by the way. Let's think back to round 7. The 2 amazing frag grenades, the Kobe nades, the one that he bounced from Sunrise up into Hookah, the one that he then gets pushing his way up Cool Vibes. The next round, that 2K in Hall of Fame. The round after that, yeah, sure, we had a bit of a clutch up, and in the round gone just a second ago, Highs had that 2K upstairs again, and then was a headache for Fultz the entire round. He has had such a good half, yet no one on the side of SSG is able to contest him right now.
They're really not. There's very little that SSG have been able to do in the last 2 rounds as a whole, you know, let alone against just one of the Furia players. And Furia's mentality, I think, is a big part of their game and what could be a success here for them. You know, they really are good at just not feeling the impact of those difficult rounds against SSG, of feeling like they've been beaten up. You know, they're great at coming back from that and just turning it around very, very quickly. But look at this, Des, coming in. Is this a bit of a Hail Mary from SSG? We've got the Tachanka coming along.
Oh boy. I'm not sure that's really the kind of let's fix everything change that you want, but clearly that's a discussion they've had here. Maybe they're looking for some kind of hard denial coming out. We spoke earlier on about the Tachanka changes coming in, by the way. Now has 14 rounds, and his LMG does a little bit more transformational sight work, depending on what range you are using. I think up close the holes are considerably bigger. You're seeing Fultz almost mechanically going about getting these things opened up. Extremely good for that purpose.
As you said, great for the renovation, but how will it fare throughout the round? You know, that's got to be the bigger question, because plenty of operators that can do exactly the same thing in terms of sort of adjusting the sight and giving.
I mean, let's be real, Ace, right? There's only one thing that Jackie is going to care about, and that is whether this Tachanka is strong enough to turn that sofa around.
I mean, that's the reality. Jackie would put an entire operator in the game just with the ability to do that. I mean, I think Oryx is your man. If you're looking for somebody to move some furniture, it's got to be Oryx.
So easy. Well, we've got 5 seconds. Let's take a look in VIP for a second, right? And look at the rotation of the big sofa. Not the one that's sat on there. This one. Jackie's massive gripe is, why is that not facing the TV? You just got to look over people's heads.
He feels like the opening is the front of the sofa, and it should be pointed towards the TV.
Oh, yeah, he's right. Absolutely. It's unlivable.
It's just absolutely unlivable. Forget the resort. It's just burn it down. There's just nothing you can do with the place.
I think, as you guys once said, it's a 2-star rating on TripAdvisor.
It is. Now, Fantasy, he's going to be moving into that kitchen looking to cook up a storm with a long angle across the luggage there. He's not going to find anybody and heads off towards main lobby. Right now, SSG doing a good job of just keeping themselves out of the way here. They're not pushing forward, not over-aggressing. They don't want to give Furia anything to go on. That's been one of the problems, has been that SSG have been so consistently losing that opening kill. They've done very well to say that that's been the case, but they can't keep doing it, and they need to keep themselves alive late into the round.
At peacetime, there's been no early exchange. Pretty much every entry kill has come in the first 60 seconds so far. Here, we're down to about 90. This may just turn out to be the slowest entry kill of the game. If things carry on this way, Fultz almost getting taken down there as the first one of those flame canisters come out. And then nearly finding himself killed would have been a big waste to the rest of that utility. But at least for now, it's still on side. SSG doing a pretty hard hold up towards the northwest side here. Not too worried about the roam, for example. Just playing it pretty passively.
Hot and Cold just going to play his life in behind that mirror window, looking to find any heads that he can out in office. He knows that they are there, but can he get the nitro out? Absolutely not, and he will be downed in the process of trying. It's going to be up to Fultz to go in there and collect his man, which is exactly what he'll do. He'll start bouncing those grenades off walls, just trying to create an obstruction anywhere he can.
They were so terrified of the plant going down there, but it wasn't even a thing. Lender goes absolutely nuclear, bringing down 2 for himself. Fantasy into another. Things descend into a 3 versus 2. Furia, a golden opportunity to send it into overtime. They find another. They find it all the way, Tim. They found 3 rounds back to back. We're going to have our first overtime here on the B stream.
Absolutely no fear from Furia. They keep fighting. There is no stopping them. And just as I said, they are scrappy. They will fight their way back into games. They don't mind being 6-3. That's 6-3 down against former world champions SSG. They will fight for it. And that is what they have done consistently for the last 12 months. And it's what's got them here to the Mexico Major today. And they're not about to stop.
You know what the scariest thing is? It's Furia starting on attack, as the momentum has carried on through them for the last 3 rounds. Got them to this point. SSG, they've got the full choice of sites. They choose where to play. They opt for Penthouse and Theatre. They bring the Chanka, the Lord, along once again. As Furia now, of all times, choose to make a change. Rare coming along with that Finker.
It's something that we have seen in the LATAM region previously, is the use of the Finker. It was particularly something that I think it was Yuna that used to bring it, first on FaZe and then on subsequent rosters, and very, very effective here on Coastline with the Finker. Let's see if that's something that Rare can maybe just learn from and bring to the table here. Could be a little bit of a surprise playing in for SSG, but they've got surprises of their own. There's Rampy coming with the Oryx. Only 5 kills so far. If there's a point in time that he's going to get involved in this matchup, now is the time to do it. But look at the construction work that's gone on around Penthouse. I can't help but feel, Des, that this is a little bit of a risk on the side of SSG with such an important defensive round, though.
I love it. There's a team in the UK called Randy's that bought 5 shotguns once and just opened up every floor and soft wall on Coastline that they could. We were sat there casting and just had to like remove our headsets because of the volume it was making. I can't wait. I couldn't imagine the sort of destructive work they'd have fun with bringing along a Chanka in its current state, because it just destroys so much. It's mental. Either way, let's put a focus on this Finker and the use case of it. That's going to be the big one for me, is when that gets pulled in, you know it's go time. You look for the frags, you look for the play, because that's when the fireworks really start to fly.
SSG looking to make a challenge up onto the rooftop there, thinking they're just blasting a couple of shots, not going to get any joy. And largely falling back to sight, but now Rampy, Hot and Cold, they both disappear underneath here, and they're going to try to have some sort of an impact, but at the minute find themselves at the complete opposite end of the map. Lender just taking down some gadgets with the ping information that's being fed back into him, but Furia, Des, they have to be aware of this duo underneath.
It's the hatch hopping that we always want to see, that we dream of, that might not yet happen. Worth mentioning as well, by the way, faults on the Chanka. Think about how much time he can burn through. If each flame lasts 7 seconds, he's got 12 of them. That's a lot of time. A hell of a lot of time. 84 seconds, about a minute and a half. So from now forwards, that 84-second mark being 1 minute 24, he could just keep on burning through these and constantly keep someone from Furia at bay.
Hyze needs to take his opportunity, really, as and when those flames die out. He's just had a window of maybe 5 seconds, but the difficulty of doing that is thinking Nade playing on that theatre wall. Now, his mirror's been opened up, so that might force him back, but no, the challenge comes in. Hyze, misplaced confidence there, thinking Nade keeps himself on the breach, pushes forward. We see that the Tachanka grenades are still coming out and raining fire, but Fantasy, he rains bullets onto Fultz, who's gone quiet in this second half. Lender, Miracle, it's all going to Furia. Des, it's happening. 4 versus 2 right now. 4 versus 1. It's all up to Rampy. This is your moment if you're going to have a big moment within this game. Uses the sprint to dash forward, get himself into a position to attack, but shut down on the breach by Fantasy. And Furia are living a fantasy right now.
Mate, that's 4 rounds on the bounce. Furia are tearing apart last year's 6 invitational winners. The team that dropped 18 rounds in 8 games in all of NAL, they were that level of dominance. There was only 1 game that went further than, I think, 2 rounds lost when it was like an 8-6 or something. Furia are challenging them, and I will use this as great evidence for why a team like SSG should not go to Coastline. I'll say it time and time again. Structured teams who benefit from that structure really shouldn't come to a map like this where chaos can reign, because Furia are thriving in it on the attack. Where I have some confidence for SSG is on the defensive side. Furia showed they were not able to deal with SSG ganging up in 3v1s on them and being incredibly reactive to information being fed back and forth by the team. If they pull off something magic here, wonderful. But I worry the most about round 15, if we get there, that SSG will not be able to adapt in time.
Well, I feel like we're in a situation where we are likely to see round 15. If we just look at history, I mean, Furia have got some great momentum at the minute, but SSG were very good on the attack. So I feel like it probably goes to round 15, and if it does, SSG felt like they just took a bit of a risk there in round 13. They went Penthouse Theatre, they had the Tachanka. It was always a bit of a roll of the dice. I feel like if they come into round 15, maybe that defense is played a little bit differently and they just go back to something super solid that they've locked down previously, and they think, right, we need to close this and get it over the line. So you're absolutely right, it is not going to be easy for Furia to close this out, but they've got their opportunity, Des. They've got there. If nothing else, they've sent a message. They've sent a message to Na'Vi. They've sent a message to the rest of the tournament that they're here to play. They're not underdogs, that they are equals, that they can challenge, that they can scrap, they can fight, and that they can win rounds.
That's what gets me so excited about international play, is every time it rolls around, you're now looking at the best teams in the world all playing in the same server. And although you come in with expectations of, SSG can beat that team, NIP can beat that team, it can just completely turn upside down and cause massive upsets if you're not careful. Great example, you've got about 3 seconds to close your ears if you don't want to hear the Dark Zero versus NIP score. Right now on the other stream, Dark Zero are beating NIP 5-3. So whilst Dark Zero are upsetting NIP, the game that we all thought NIP would win, over here, we've got Furia, the team that we thought would lose to SSG, upsetting SSG. The tournament is upside down. What is this?
Well, this is exactly what happens in international play, as you say, and that's what makes it really fascinating. We can all look at it coming in and think, Dark Zero, maybe didn't do the best out of the NA teams coming into this through stage 2. Maybe they're going to struggle. And then they have great results on the opening day, and it just throws it on its head. Hyze, he's going to get thrown on his head. He's going to get put down but not out inside a service there, and he is likely to just see the rest of his life tick away, as there's going to be no opportunity for his teammates to get to him. Hot and Cold does take a lot of damage though, which leaves us in a 5 versus 4 as he gets in to secure that kill. 1 minute 25 left to go. SSG looking good on the attack again.
You know what I did see as well, one change I think that's coming with this next like season or patch or whatever, is that if you shoot someone when they're down, if they've been down by someone else, that other person gets the kill. That's one to look forward to. Hot and Cold did down in there, I'm pretty sure, with the frag grenades. Something really worth getting too upset about there, but there's one thing I remember seeing on Twitter earlier on that's worth mentioning. Either way, you can see where the battle lines have been drawn here. The West held by Furia. SSG pushing in slowly from the East as we get into this final 60 seconds or so. We've got one trying to challenge them inside of Office right here. It's Lender. I think you'll know that there's someone playing really too far down for him to have a chance of contesting them there. But as the drone starts singing in, this is where SSG shine. Their pressure from multiple fronts is always really good. C4. Oh, okay. Have some of my explosive back, says Hot and Cold. A second kill in the round coming from a frag. The first one from a down into a gunshot, but that one, it was all frag play. Faults into another. A 5 versus 2. SSG looking to take this all the way to 15 rounds. At the point I said I would get nervous, but Rare finds one. Cannot find another. It's a 1 versus 4 for Miracle. We've already seen him pull one off today, but I don't think he'll find himself a second. If that kill had landed, different conversation. Smokes come out, gets challenged from Blue and pre-fired by Rampy. All the way to 15, Ace. I wouldn't have it any other way.
There is absolutely nothing to separate these two teams at the minute. It has been a real playground for the attackers here on Coastline today. SSG just proving their effectiveness there on the attacking side, and it was another great round from them. Leaves us 7-all, and this is where I say I just feel like SSG maybe find that extra 2% here and lock it down on the defense. I'm just having a quick look through. SSG defended Hooker twice. They lost it both times, Des.
I mean, they turned towards Theatre as their first defense, and we saw how that worked out for them, so I'm glad that it's going down into a more, air quotes, normal site. I am surprised by how much Penthouse Theatre we've actually seen in this game. I think 3 rounds of it so far, which is quite exciting. However, Billiards Hooker needs to be what goes right for them. Let's take a look at what difference there is as well in their setup here, because that could be a bit of a difference maker. Looking across the lineups, Iana, Twitch, Blitz is what we saw Furia bring before alongside Slidge and Hibana. Here it's going to be the Ace. On the defender's side, we had the Mozzie, the Smoke, the Wamai, the Mute, and the Vigil. So there are a couple of changes here because you're seeing things like that mirror stepping in. I'm hoping those changes are the ones that work out for them. Heaven knows they knew it was building up to this, and they had to make round 15 work for them.
Nobody deserves to lose here. They've both put on such an entertaining show for us. It's been real top-line siege at times with some great kills, great moments, and great fight. Great heart is exactly what we want to see. That's where the stories are really born, and there can only be one winner, though, and it's going to be decided in the next 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Furia have attacked onto Hooker and Billiards twice, and they have won twice. Kitchen was available for Space Station Gaming. That is the site that they won on defense, but they've chosen not to go there. They're going to head instead to Hooker and Billiards, and that is where the fate is going to be decided. High, straight up onto the rooftop, looking to open the hatch and potentially drop into Penthouse and Theatre. Furia, they're going to be looking for a strong start once again. We've seen them have a lot of joy on those opening kills, particularly finding Rampy early in the rounds, and if they could do that again, it would be perfect for them.
Right, let's see how it sets forward from here as well. All the explosives singing through, but no one being caught out by frags, and we saw that happen a lot in this game, as you remember in the previous round. Highs especially been our go-to frag expert, it feels like, for the most part. But it's Lender currently being the one that's hanging off on the downstairs. We'll keep an eye on Highs and keep an eye on where those grenades do come singing into, because there's also 2 on the side of Fantasy, currently holding inside of Blue. They're getting themselves set up and maybe looking for a grenade play from below might be the one they're thinking of. Highs rotating himself away. Fantasy still lurking around inside of Blue. It's about this upstairs push they're looking for. The grenade in hand. Where are they going for? It's going to be a little alley-oop up towards Blue, but no one's there. Rotates away just in time. Now that they know this is going to be so easy. Here we go. Good night. We've seen this time and time again. It's the opening kill. Thinking Nate, the one going down.
Big start there from the Iana to take the man at the top of Cool Vibe Stairs. That just gives a little bit of freedom here, and that's, I was just going to say, to move inside a Hooker. That's exactly what Miracle does. The diffuser's going down, Des. Furia might just win this one. It's 4 versus 3. 4 versus 2 effectively as Fultz is down. The diffuser's planted on the door. This is going to be an extremely difficult retake for SSG here. It's all down to the remaining 3. Fultz, Bosco, hot and cold. They've got to make something happen. Rare finds one, Fantasy another. It's all over, Des. I'm calling it. This one is done. Lender wins it out for Furia. They beat Space Station Gaming and they put themselves a win on the board on day one.
Unbelievable. No one, okay, maybe some people, no one came into this game saying that Furia were going to beat SSG, and look at how things have played out. You even said to me in the break before this game, what we need now is Furia to beat SSG, and this group is blown wide open. Ace, Christmas has come early. That's exactly what you've been given. Wow. Just wow.
We got it. If only I'd backed them publicly, Des. I genuinely thought SSG were going to come away with the win there. I thought we were going to see a little bit of a start of a dominant SSG group run, but no, Furia, look at the positivity in that team now. Lots of celebration, laughs. They are happy. And the thing is, Des, that's just made them even harder to play against.
Just saying, mate, never doubted them for a second. The new generation of LATAM fans in me, just showing you boys how it should be done right. I'll admit, I am incredibly impressed by Highs. I haven't watched a whole ton of LATAM. I've watched a couple of maps from All Light teams before and seen different things. And I wasn't most convinced from Team 1 playing off against Furia in the playoffs of Copa Elite 6. But Highs today especially, I am super, super impressed. Grenade play, phenomenal. He was the terror of top floor when SSG were defending on the downstairs. Absolutely love to see it. And I'm already excited about seeing him play again.
Honestly, this is how I feel about Furia all the time. Like I say, genuinely, they're just a fun team to watch. They're entertaining. They are exciting. And a man who knows just how exciting they can be, I'm sure he's bouncing off his seat at the minute. Let's bring Jackie in. He's going to have loved that result for Furia, I'm sure of it.
No magic man there.
Hello. I'm sorry, boys. I was getting the diagonally bricks out of the way. You have to wait for the animation. I'm here, and that was incredible. You're absolutely right, lads. Two key things to take away. One, Space Station Gaming burning up on re-entry. How on earth have we got to OT? How on earth has Furia won? Secondly, more important, the sofa is definitely in the wrong way. It needs to be moved. If they don't fix the sofa, I don't understand the point. Ubisoft, get on it. Hashtag fix the sofa. But, wow, you needed to be sat down for that game. OT, grenades, everything we could have asked for. The clutch play with the smoke, just beautiful, Tim.
It really was, and that's the sort of games that you hope for at a major. Honestly, it didn't matter who won round 15. We'd all been treated to a special experience there. Whether SSG won, whether Furia won, was completely irrelevant for us as viewers, really. Unless you're a fan of either team, it was just an absolute wonder to watch.
Yep. It was one of those that I kind of think back on, and I was just like, that's probably the first time I think I've enjoyed Coastline in probably forever.
This is what Furia do.
Furia have converted me. That's it. I'm now a fan. I'm now in the church of Coastline, I guess. It's a thing. I'm just shocked, honestly. It was special. Really, really good.
It's outrageous. They are so infectious, and they do it because of results like this, right? The amount of times we've seen Furia in a group where they're looking like they're going to struggle, probably not the best team in the group, going into it in poor form. And what do? They surprise. And again here, they have really surprised the pants off all of us. Huge map. Really exciting the whole way through. Even just seeing these nade kills on the replay as well. The amount of chip damage we had from some of those frags. Oh, it's giving me chills.
They were just hitting the mark time after time on both sides. As we said, there was great play on both sides of the table, and that's how we want to see it. We want to see teams coming out and winning games rather than teams losing them, and that's what, again, it felt like it was about. The first half was SSG just completely dominant. We've got to call it as we see it. They were absolutely all over Furia, but as I said coming into the game today, Furia are scrappy. It is one of their biggest strengths, and they've just shown why.
Yeah, this is crazy though for SSG, right, Des? Obviously, you've got that win in versus Na'Vi. We were touting the idea that in reality, they should probably be going 2-0 in this group. They haven't. That's a raw 1-1 straight in the books. Furia trumping them. Where do they recover from here? What's the rebuttal?
When do Na'Vi play Furia in their first game? Tomorrow they play them. And they play SSG tomorrow as well. Ooh. I mean, this is the thing. If Na'Vi beat Furia, they've all beaten each other once. You're going to have to rely on the second round robin, the second stage of games where they all play each other again to see how it's going to play out. Don't forget as well, there are 3 teams in this group, and many thought it was pretty clear-cut. We were saying Na'Vi, SSG are the ones walking away the winners. I'm looking at it now and thinking, is it really a plausible thing that Furia could knock one of those 2 teams out? Very much so.
Oh, yeah, they'll be in the top 4. It's all in the books. It's in the script.
Tim's dying to talk, by the way. He's been bouncing for all the time I've been speaking.
We'll
What's up with you,
go
Tim?
into the stats, Tim. We'll let you unleash. Let's have a look at the scoreboard and just go off the rails, Tim. Give me all you got.
You're talking there about Na'Vi versus Furia tomorrow, and if Na'Vi win, they've got 1 win each. Do you honestly not see a world where Furia maybe win that and sit top of the table? You know, this is what we are potentially looking at. Look at the numbers in front of you. Look at the cost. 80% for Raya. Fantastic game for him. 17 kills for Fantasy. It's just ridiculous.
Ooh, man. God damn. Just looking back at this as well, it is crazy the amount of impact that's come out. That was a really, really sick game. High quality stuff there. 8-7, the first OT. And I'm just going to go out and say it. Probably the best OT of the night. I don't think we're going to get a game quite like that again. Coastline 8-7. It's not really repeatable, is it, Des?
No. Again, I'm always the first critic of Coastline, but I think you very clearly saw strengths and weaknesses for either team there on either side of the map, which is what made it so interesting to watch when you really started to see those things come to life. Look, 8-7 on Coastline is one of them games that I look at and just think it's madness. We had a similar result in APAC North between Fnatic and Cloud9. No one penned Cloud9 to win, and they won it anyway. It is a theatre of nightmares and a factory of dreams at the same time, Coastline as a map. I really can't describe it. For me, it's normally a nightmare, but for Fury today, an absolute dream. I'd watch it all over again if I could. No doubt, I will watch that game back over the weekend. Maybe on Thursday when we've got a break day.
Oh, man. Right, well, there we have it. Furia locking down the win in OT up against SSG. Des, don't worry, your LATAM Superfan membership card will be in the post. It will be coming soon.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, though, we have to go to a break before we come back in for our next game. Our 5th best of 1 of the night. Invictus taking on TSM. You won't want to miss it, but definitely take a few moments to catch your breath after that banger. We'll see you in a few.